We've all experienced goosebumps, maybe while stepping outside on a cold winter morning, during a frightening moment when your body reacted before you had time to think, while listening to a song that somehow sent chills through your entire body, watching an unforgettable movie, or witnessing something so inspiring that you could actually feel your skin react. Those moments seem completely unrelated: cold, fear, music, beauty, awe. Yet they all produce exactly the same physical response. How can completely different experiences trigger exactly the same reaction in the human body? I wanted to find out the answer. As I started reading the research, I realized scientists had been asking the very same question for decades. Their investigations would eventually connect physiology, neuroscience, psychology, evolution, and even music. What began as a simple everyday observation slowly became one of the most fascinating biological mysteries. Let's follow the science and begin the investigation. Every scientific investigation begins with the same principle. Before you can understand why something happens, you first have to understand how it happens. That was the first question researchers set out to answer. What physically creates goosebumps? To find the answer, scientists turned their attention to the skin. Under a microscope, every hair follicle revealed something unexpected. Attached to each one was a tiny smooth muscle called the erector pili muscle. Unlike the muscles that move your arms and legs, these muscles work automatically. Researchers then traced what controls these tiny muscles. They discovered they are connected to the sympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that rapidly coordinates your body's response whenever conditions suddenly change. But nerves don't communicate by touching muscles directly. Instead, sympathetic nerve endings release norepinephrine, a chemical messenger whose job is to carry instructions from the nervous system to nearby cells. When that message reaches the erector pili muscles, they contract. As thousands of these tiny muscles contract together, they pull the hairs upright, producing the small bumps we recognize as goosebumps. Now, scientists understood how goosebumps are created, but solving one mystery immediately revealed another. Knowing how they happen still didn't explain why the body activates this response in the first place. That question became the next investigation. The first investigation had answered an important question. Scientists now understood how goosebumps are created, but understanding the mechanism wasn't enough. The next question was just as important. Why would the body activate this response when we're cold? To answer it, researchers compared humans with other mammals. They observed that when the tiny muscles attached to each hair contract, the hairs stand upright. In humans, the effect is small, but in furry mammals, the result is very different. Raised fur traps a thin layer of still air next to the skin. That layer acts like insulation, slowing the loss of body heat and helping the animal stay warm in cold environments. Researchers also observed another possible advantage. When an animal raises its fur, it can appear larger to a potential predator or rival. Looking larger may discourage an attack before a fight even begins. The investigation revealed that goosebumps are part of an ancient survival system that helped our mammalian ancestors cope with cold and, in some situations, threats and possible danger. Scientists had finally answered the question. Cold activates a biological system shaped by evolution to improve the chances of survival. But another mystery immediately appeared. If goosebumps evolved to help mammals survive the cold, why do we also experience them when we're afraid? Fear doesn't lower your body temperature, yet it can trigger exactly the same response. That raised another question. Why would fear activate a system that evolved to help mammals stay warm? Scientists turned to the nervous system. They found that both cold and fear activate the sympathetic nervous system, the network that rapidly prepares the body to respond to changing conditions. Within seconds, the body begins to reorganize itself. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing changes. Blood flow is redirected toward the muscles. Your senses become more alert. Goosebumps are activated as part of that coordinated response. For our furry ancestors, this reaction may have offered two survival advantages at the same time. Raised fur helped conserve heat. It could also make the animal appear larger during a confrontation, increasing the chance of avoiding physical conflict. Although humans have very little body hair today, The biological program remains. It still responds automatically whenever the nervous system detects a significant challenge or threat's potential. Scientists had now explained why cold and fear activate the same response. Both recruit an ancient survival system designed to prepare the body for action. But one question remained. Cold and fear are survival systems. So why can a beautiful piece of music trigger exactly the same response? Up to this point, the science made perfect sense. Cold activates goosebumps because it once helped furry mammals conserve heat. Fear activates the same response because it recruits the body's ancient survival system. But researchers couldn't ignore another observation. People also experienced goosebumps while listening to music. There was no drop in temperature, no physical danger, no immediate threat to survival. Yet the same biological response appeared. That observation completely changed the direction of the investigation. Scientists began asking a new question. What is happening inside the brain when music gives us goosebumps? To find the answer, researchers used brain imaging techniques to compare ordinary moments in music with the exact moments people experienced goosebumps. The results revealed a remarkable pattern. Those emotionally powerful moments consistently activated the brain's reward system, a network involved in motivation, learning, and recognizing experiences that are emotionally significant. Researchers also found evidence that these moments were associated with the release of dopamine, a chemical messenger that helps the brain signal reward, motivation, and anticipation. Scientists could now explain what was happening inside the brain during music-induced goosebumps. But that discovery created an even bigger mystery. The same biological program responds to a freezing wind, a life-threatening situation, and the most emotionally powerful moments of a symphony. The neuroscience explained how music could produce goosebumps. It still didn't explain why experiences with completely different meanings recruit the same ancient biological response. That question would lead scientists beyond neuroscience and into psychology, emotion science, and evolutionary biology. The music experiments had answered an important question. Scientists could now explain what was happening inside the brain when music produced goosebumps, but they still couldn't explain why. So the investigation expanded. Researchers noticed that goosebumps weren't unique to music. People experienced them during emotional reunions, acts of compassion, powerful speeches, moments of breathtaking beauty, and overwhelming awe. The observation itself wasn't new. The scientific question was, could completely different experiences be activating the same emotional process? Instead of studying the events, psychologists began studying the emotions they produced. What they discovered changed the direction of the investigation. Although these experiences looked completely different, many produced the same emotional state. Researchers described it as being deeply moved. More recently, many scientists have studied this state using the Japanese expression kamamuta, meaning moved by love. People experiencing this emotional state often report tears, warmth in the chest, chills, and sometimes objectively measured goosebumps. Scientists had now discovered a common emotional pattern. But another question appeared. Why would feeling deeply moved recruit the same ancient biological response used during cold and danger? The discovery of a common emotional pattern didn't end the investigation. It opened several new ones. Each scientific discipline approached the mystery from a different perspective. Evolutionary psychologists focused on human relationships. Across studies of reunions, compassion, gratitude, and shared emotional experiences, they propose that goosebumps may reflect ancient biological systems that help strengthen social bonds. If cooperation helped our ancestors survive, powerful moments of human connection may have recruited an already existing biological response. Cognitive neuroscientists approach the mystery differently. Instead of asking what people felt, they investigated when goosebumps appeared. Using music specifically chosen to produce chills, they found that goosebumps often occurred during moments of rising tension, unexpected harmony, or dramatic emotional resolution. Their findings suggested that the brain responds most strongly when an experience becomes far more emotionally significant than expected. Emotion scientists added another piece to the puzzle. They found that music, compassion, awe, gratitude, and reunion often produce the same emotional state of being deeply moved. Each investigation explained part of the mystery. None explained every goosebump experience. Following decades of research, scientists have reached several important conclusions. They understand how goosebumps are produced. They know why cold activates this response. They understand why fear recruits the same survival system. They can explain what happens inside the brain during music-induced goosebumps. Psychology has identified a common emotional state shared by many experiences that produce goosebumps. Evolutionary biology has proposed why that response may have been preserved. Cognitive neuroscience has shown that emotionally powerful moments often trigger it. Together, these investigations have brought scientists much closer to understanding this remarkable response. But no single hypothesis explains every emotional goosebump experience. That question remains one of the most fascinating mysteries still being explored. We started with something almost everyone has experienced, a few tiny bumps appearing on the skin. It seemed so ordinary that most of us never stopped to question it. But following the science revealed something extraordinary. A response that once helped mammals survive the cold still prepares our bodies for danger and somehow appears during some of life's most meaningful moments. Perhaps the greatest discovery wasn't finding one final answer. It was discovering how physiology, neuroscience, psychology, and evolutionary biology each uncovered another piece of the same puzzle. Sometimes science doesn't end by closing a mystery. Sometimes it shows us just how remarkable the human body really is.